As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the CIMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study Exam. Start studying the CIMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, my professional colleagues. It's good to be here again. Today is the 31st day in the month of October 2024. It's the last day of the month. I hope you have all received your salaries, because we as accountants are meant to be accurate, timely, and deliver as you want it. So I believe that we're all busy wrapping up accounting processes and all of that for the month. And you're welcome to ICAN-ngr. It's a special day. It's a great day. We thank God for life. You know, we're in the last quarter of the year, so I believe that a lot is going on with accountants in their respective organization, and something special also will be going on with the nation and also in our organization to prepare us for 2025. And that was why we came up with this very interesting topic that resonates with everyone, because wherever you work, whether you work in the private sector or in the public sector, you have to relate with the public sector one way or the other. We have to do business together. So the topic for today is budgetary process and implementation in the public sector. We have the honor to bring to the studio, but of course, perhaps after the break, we'll bring a special guest into the studio for you to enjoy everything around budgetary process and implementation in the public sector. My name remains Fumi Olani. We'll go on a break and we'll be right back. Welcome again to ICAN-ngr.
In today's interconnected world, complexity is the new normal, and accountants must navigate this landscape, leveraging interdisciplinary approaches to drive sustainable growth. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, USA District, invites you to our 12th ICAN USA International Accountant Conference. Join us for 4 days of inspiring keynotes, interactive sessions, and expert panel sessions. Date is 26th to 31st of August 2025. Theme: Navigating Complexity, Accountants as Catalysts for Interdisciplinary Solutions. Venue is Windham, Indianapolis Airport Hotel, 2544 Executive Drive, Indianapolis, Inc. 46241. Join the conversation. Shape the future.
Okay, so we have in the studio our special guest for today. I'm sure you've been seeing the flyers, and we've been seeing that is the Accountant General of Lagos State that is our guest today. But of course, he's being represented by Mr. Tajuddin Mahmood. He's the Director of Monitoring and Investigation. But of course, I'm going to take the profile of our very own member, and the man that's cooperates with us every time we need him is always there for us. I want to thank you, Mr. Mahmood, for at least being available to attend on his behalf. So I'll just take the profile of Dr. Muritala Abiodun. He's a public financial management expert with over 20 years experience in the Lagos State Public Service, where he currently serves as the Accountant General of the state government. He has held over key positions both at the state and local government levels. Most notable among those positions are the stint as the General Manager Finance of the Lagos State Development and Property Corporation, Project Accountant of the Lagos Metropolitan Development and Governance Project World Bank Assisted Project, and Council Treasurer of Ekpe Local Government. His passion for keeping up with the best practices and latest advancements in the accountancy and finance profession drove him to qualify as a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria in 1994. Of Nigeria, the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators, and the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. An avid learner beyond his foundation degrees in accounting, he holds a master's in business administration from Lagos State University, a master's degree in finance from the University of Lagos, and a doctorate degree in strategic management from Babcock University. Dr. Abiodun Muritala has been in the current position since November 2019, in which time he has been committed to driving public financial management reforms that has improved the state government's strategic allocation of resources, operational efficiency, fiscal discipline, and service delivery. You're welcome. Our very own is an FCA. We'll say thank you very much to the Director Monitoring and Investigation of State Treasury Office. Thank you very much, Mr. Tajuddin Mahmood, for being here today. Okay, I don't know if you're muted, sir. Okay. Oh, yes.
So good evening, colleagues. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much for being here. We truly appreciate you. And we see all that you're doing in your office, and we want to appreciate you. Of course, investigation and monitoring is very, very important. And that is why we have thought it's necessary for you to also be part of this program today. So because the topic we're discussing today is all around budget processing, and this is the period where we know you're busy. We acknowledge that you're very, very busy doing budgets for the state and also for the different MDAs that you actually monitor, that you cover. But when the private sector, when they do well, there's always the revenue for the public sector. In terms of taxes, there'll be taxes for public sector. We have global audience here who are chartered accountants, and those that are not even chartered accountants. We would like to ask you, sir, perhaps I should start this way by helping us into a simple way to describe what the difference is between the public sector and the private sector, for example, sir.
Okay. Good evening once again. First of all, I will have to tender the apology on behalf of my principal, Dr. Shefiu Muritala Abiodun, who is unavoidably absent. Just quite about 3 hours ago, he was invited by the governor for a crucial meeting, so that is why he asked me to stand in for him. So I apologize. It's not in his character to abdicate this kind of assignment, especially when it concerns Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, in which we are both members and we hold in high esteem. So now coming back to your question, you want me to to distinguish between public sector and private sector. Let me start with public sector. Public sector can be equated to the government sector. And government comprises of 3 arms of government. We have the executive, we have the legislative, then we have the judiciary. Then we see part of public sector is all the ministries and department of government agencies, corporations. It includes the GP. When I mean GP, I mean government business entity, and all that concerns parastatals, everything that concerns government, establishment of government. So they all refer to as public sector. Whereas in the contracts, we have the private sector, which includes enterprises, public quoted companies, private companies, and private individual doing their business, whether registered or unregistered. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, that was a clear distinction. So, as chartered accountants, we want you to throw more light on the International Financial Reporting Standards, which is the IFRS as we all call it, and the International Public Sector Accounting Standard, the IPSAS. Are there points of convergence, or is there a handshake between the two standards, sir?
So let me first of all say that the International Financial Reporting Standards and the International Public Sector Accounting Standard are both standard that were set for different things. The International Financial Reporting Standard was meant for the private sector, while the International Public Sector Accounting Standard was meant to regulate the the public sector. So, and both of them they provide framework, but for both private sector and public sector respectively. So the focus of private sector and public sector are two different things. While public sector hammer more on providing services at a reduced cost, providing security and welfare for the populace. The private sector is more on profit oriented and is there to safeguard the investment of shareholders, to actually increase the investment of shareholders. So, and also their reporting orientation is different. For public sector, they report to the populace and to other people that are interested in the report of a public sector. But for to private sector, they have to render their stewardship to the shareholders, which is their primary concern, and to do other investors that are interested in maybe doing business with them or acquiring their shares. So, is there any point of convergence? Yes, there are point of convergence. Majorly, you see, in public sector, before now, we used to keep our financial record, financial statement using the cash basis accounting. But from year 2016, there was a transition from cash basis accounting and IFSA to IFSA accounting, which is purely accrual. And the point of convergence is that basically most of these accrual IFSAs were developed from IFRS, because many of them, there are some IFRS standards that also are almost the same thing with what we have in IPSAS, because they are talking about like presentation of financial statement. They are almost the same thing. So like when we focus on when we talk about income statements, we are in they are almost the same thing, balance sheets and whatever. So the point of convergence, as I'm talking about, is because the IPSAS by itself were developed using the accrual accounting concept of IAS and the IFRS. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. When you have an erudite scholar and someone that is a civil servant, is not someone that is, I mean, he knows the job and is in the job. So thank you so much. I just want to acknowledge some of our members, audience today. Sani Abdul Karim, Abdul Hakim. Yes, we say thank you very much from Kano. Thank you for joining the program today. Iwara Gara from Calabar. Adedayo Yedele. Thank you for joining. Shosanlu Olusoji from Abeokuta. Rashid Kabir. We acknowledge your presence. And then Ali Bomoy Masaya from Abuja. Thank you. Adedayo Yedele from Ibadan. Oladele Shadeko. Thank you so much for joining us from Lagos State. And from Onitsha, we have Uju Uzugo, we have Otunla Wuraola, And we Akin. I mean, there are a lot of them. We just want to say thank you to every one of you for joining us today. Fagwalata Imitokwe says, good evening to the great mind of our noble ICAN family. It is good to be here again from the ancient city of Ibadan. Thank you so much. Taufik Lawal, we acknowledge you. And Bulus Makut, we acknowledge your presence. We still have in the studio Mr. Tajuddin Mahmood, the Director of Monitoring and Investigation of the State Treasury Office of Lagos State. Is discussing everything around budget processing and implementation for public sector. We're having a good time here. So please invite your friend to join us right here in the studio. It's a fresh day to learn. So, Sir, over to you. You know, as a civil servant and you are vast, I mean, you know how this is done from year to year. What is a budget, for example, and what are the types of budget out there and in the context of the public sector?
So I will define budget in a very simple terms. It is just an estimate of expected revenue and expected expenditure over a period of time. And mostly we budgets in government is usually prepared for 1 year, but in some instances you can have a multi-year budget, and you can even have budgets that are less than 1 year. So in a simple terms, an estimate of revenue which the government is expected to make in a period, and the expected expenditure. Now, when we talk about types of budget, so it depends on what we are talking about. Is it budget techniques, or is it the type of budget that we prepare? In the term of nature of budget that we prepare, the type of budget could be a balanced budget. That is a budget where the revenue and expenditure are the same, they are equal to each other. Or is a surplus budget where you are expected to make more revenue than your expenditure. And of course, a deficit budget where you are expected to have more expenditure than the revenue you intend to make. Also, when we talk about techniques, we can talk about the incremental budget, which is normally the one they use in government. Then we can talk about program-based budgeting, like the one we use in Lagos State. We can also talk about zero-based budgeting, which is typically a budget that you start from scratch every year. So then we have program budgeting, we have value proposition budgeting, and so on and so forth.
You've said a lot already, and I recall you mentioning the cash one earlier, and you know the everything around it. So, Capital, thank you very much for shedding so much light on those things that are not clear, especially to people in the private sector. So, sir, from the public sector prism, global audience would actually like to follow you on just to understand and grab some things around the budgetary process and implementation. What does it truly entail? So, from what period to what period, what should we be conversant, or what should we try to know when it comes to budgetary process and implementation, sir?
So, let's start from budgetary process. The budgetary process itself emanates from government policy. There will be a government policy statement that, okay, this year, okay, this is what the government intends to do. For instance, government may want to increase the level of transportation system. They may want to increase infrastructural facilities. It could even be free for all, free education, or free and easy access healthcare services. So from this policy, then it translates into what we call budget documentation. So there is also what we call stakeholders engagement. You go and meet with stakeholders like a village square to ask them what are those things that you actually want government to do for you. So like in the National Assembly, this is done by the legislators, the senators, and the House of Representatives. In the states, this is actually handled by the commissioners representing each local government, or the House of Assembly members. So all these things accumulated into what government develop into budget paper. So from this budget paper, there is what we call a medium-term budget framework, which government prepare to actually see what they intend to do. Medium term start from 3 to 5 years. A budget will be prepared, a sort of expected revenue in the next 3 to 5 years, and expected expenditure. So a program and the kind of what are those, for instance, when a new government that comes in, we want to sit down and look at in the next 4 years, what are those programs that we want to do based on interactions with people and the stakeholders. So from there, you can prepare what we call the medium-term budgetary framework. So from this medium-term budgetary framework, so government actually make their decision, their intention on what to do, the way they want to follow, the focus and objective, make it known to sectors and their agencies and parastatals. From this, the agencies also develop what we call a medium-term fiscal framework and the medium-term sector strategy. This is developed by each agencies and sectors. Then from there, the government can now do what we call doing a cost circular. They do a revenue cost circular to all agencies, so that they should bring their budget, bring their projects and programs. So these budget and programs and budgets costed by each agencies will be submitted to the, in case of the national, we have the Office of Bureau of Budget and Planning. But in the case of Lagos State, we have Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget that issue these circulars and collates the responses from agencies. They don't just collate, they will also invite each agencies to come and defend their budget. That's what we call ministerial discussions. So they call we call it a bilateral budget discussion. They call each agencies to come around to come and defend what they have in their figures. How do you arrive at that figures? And if the figures are not okay, they tell them to go and amend. And so before that, at the point of developing all this medium-term MTSS, MTF, that's what we call in Lagos State, that what we call sectoral allocation before the even issuance of circular. Sectoral allocations means that the government, through the medium-term budget framework, the government have known how much they have projected that, okay, this is how much we want to make. We will likely make in the course of this year. And this is exactly how much we are going to spend in the course of this year. So the sector in which government is going to allocate funds to, it depends on the budget, government priority and government goals and objectives. So in this case, the allocation, sectoral allocation goes to each of those sectors depends on the government focus and objective, as I earlier said. So from there, after that, we have the budget accumulated by Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. Then from there, it goes to another body which is called a Treasury Board. The Treasury Board objective, the function of Treasury Board is to ensure that the budget as prepared by Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget is accurate and in both in figures and in statements. So before its presentation to the Executive Council, the Executive Council look at this budget too and scrutinize it After the scrutinization, they present it to the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly also has an oversight function on the budget. They look at the budget, they look at it both in lines, both vertically and horizontally. And when they are satisfied with it, the oversight function of before they even approve, each agency will also go to each committee of the House of Assembly. It depends. For finance, for instance, we go to House Committee on Finance. So each committee will go and visit the House committee relating to its sector and defend line by line. So the House of Assembly has the statutory obligation to remove or even add to a budget as they deem fit. So after the House of Assembly has done their own, they will pass it in the Committee of All House. And after it's been passed or approved, then it's forwarded to Mr. Governor for his answer. So when the budget bill is presented to House, it is just a bill, just a paper. So, but immediately it's passed and it's approved by Mr. Governor, it becomes an appropriation. An appropriation is a law which is binding on all government agencies and is representative. Thank you.
And how this budget is being implemented. We truly appreciate you, sir. So it's still Icon on Air. If you have not joined the program, you're wrong, because you need to learn from the real source, the source of knowledge. So we are here in the studio with Mr. Tajuddin Mahmood, is the Director of Monitoring and Investigation, and is telling us everything around budget process and budget implementation for public sector. And to you again, sir, there's something that is really, really popular when it comes to budgets. You talk about the padding. I know it's a phrase. I really cannot tell if it's what it may mean, because we have our own meanings to it. But budget planning, it's a phrase that is usually associated with falsification and corruption. But what exactly does it mean, and how detrimental is it when it comes to achieving the noble objectives of a government budget, sir?
So when you talk about budget padding, it refers to practices of one, overestimating expenses and underestimating revenue. Also, it could even be increasing a project expenses or decreasing its expected revenue to make project proposal larger than usual. It will also mean setting the budget below business potential and leading to an artificial decrease in revenue and increase in expenses. So these are some of the way in which budget is being padded. So what was the rider question, please?
In fact, the rider question will be, as someone in investigation and monitoring,
Yes.
What is budget? When you talk about this padding and all of that, what kind of control mechanism can be put in place to stop or to actually minimize it?
Okay, so number one, the first thing that the government should do to avoid this budget padding, we are in 21st century, and the first thing is to make use of technology. So government should computerize, or may I use the word automate, their financial system. So all all over the world, there's what we call integrated financial management system. It is sometimes called government integrated financial system, IFMIS or GIVMIS. So that's the use of technology to prepare your budget, to prepare your financial statement, to do your procurement, to do your payroll, and what to keep your fixed assets, and so to do your human resources. All this, we call it integrated financial management system because all these they are modules. It could be modules of different application or of the same applications which are integrated with each other, that are speaking to each other. So for instance, in Lagos State, we use Oracle Financial Management, and one of those modules of Oracle Financial Management is what we call public budgetary system. So it entails all the stages of budget planning. So uh, from the ministry, we had call circulars, say, okay, bring your proposals. Proposals are not meant to be only paper proposal. There can be electronic proposal. So electronic proposal, so it's like a table, like if you have used Excel before. So if you do 40, 50, 60, gives you automatically gives you what the total should be. So you cannot add 40 plus 50 and call it 170 instead of it to be 90. So that is one of those things. Then another one is to use independent budget review committee. Like in Lagos State, after the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget has prepared their budget, there is what we call Lagos State Treasury Board that scrutinize whatever Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget has prepared. So they scrutinize it both in figures and in prose. They look at all the projects and programs. They look at the costs attached to it, and they look at what is the prevailing cost. Is it reliable? Is it reasonable? So all these are done, and they look at the projects that are part of the proposed budget. Is it in line with what the stakeholders wanted? Is it in line with what the public, during the public stakeholder, is it in line with what they said they really want? What's the objective? Then we look at they'll look at the cost benefit analysis. So how much are we talking about? So what's the benefit of this? If I'm going to put 1 billion on this project, what's going to be the benefit to the public? The project, is it serving one segment of the public, or is it for in the interest of the overall public? So all these things are scrutinized before it's now being presented before the Lagos State Executive Council. So those things should be then rather than using incremental budgeting in government. You know what incremental budgeting is that if you spend 10,000 naira on a particular budget last year, so we just say, okay, let's increase it by 50,000. Like, okay, let's
Which is almost normal.
10%. So
it is the norm.
So that's the way it has been done all the years. Okay, let's increase by 20%. So rather than doing that, why not go through zero budgeting? Zero budgeting, although it might take time and it requires information or whatever, but it means that at any point in time you want to do budget, you come back and start all over again. What is it that you needed? What is it that you did last year? So where was the project? Which stage is the project now? So what is our next line of action? They will not costing. That one is even because when you bring in a project from last year and there have been inflation or whatever, you make nonsense of that cost. You need to review those costs. But when you are doing it on a zero base whatever, so you need to get the information on current costs in the market and current price. So we need to change our budget approach. We can even use program-based budgeting, which is, okay, what are those programs that we want to do to the people? I want to project that I want to embark upon, then we now cost those projects, now cost those programs, then we now develop into project. So those are one. Then another one is that there should be an enhanced legislative oversight, because if civil servant prepare budget and present it before the House of Assembly, do they have the professional? Do they have the wherewithal to actually query the document, to actually peruse and bring out where there are errors and mistakes? So there must be enhanced legislative oversight function. The legislation should be at liberty to even hire professionals to come and scrutinize those papers for them before they actually put their assent. So enhanced budget transparency. There is nothing that said at any point in time when the budget preparation, before it becomes an appropriation, or when it's a bill, you can present it to the public, and when it becomes an appropriation too, you can equally send it to the public as a public document. As a matter of fact, budget should be a public document, and at any point in interval, you do what we call budget performance, and not only that, you do what we call citizen accountability report. The citizen accountability report will actually present to people that, okay, this is what we say we want to do, and this is actually what we have done. Let people, the public, know what you have done and how much you have done those things. So this will enhance transparency and accountability in government budget. Because of time, let's stop there. I can go on and go on and go on. So
yes. I know. It's been interesting. I mean, I love a program-based one, but what they do, what the norm is what happened last year. Just bring it up. People don't even consider that it can be reduced. They only add to it. They don't deduce. They don't deduct from what existed last year. So yeah, I believe in the zero base. It may be time consuming, but it may be the way to go. So we'd like to go on a commercial break. We're still having an interesting session with our very own guest, Mr. Tajuddin Mahmood, FCA, discussing budgets of the state government and also public sector. It could be federal, it could be state. It's all public sector. We'll go on a break and we'll be right back. Remember to call your friend to join the program. Thank you.
The Skill Up Artisans Program Super is an initiative of the federal government.
The aim of Super is to upskill Nigerian artisans for better employability. This we are carrying out by collecting the data of Nigeria artisans through massive registration, training, certification, and licensing for better job opportunities both locally and internationally. Super will improve the quality of life of Nigeria artisans. It will improve the quality of work from Nigeria artisans, enhance work and professional ethics from Nigeria artisans, reduce dependency on foreign artisans, and increase foreign exchange through talent export.
Log on to super.itf.gov.ng to register now. Super, upskilling Nigeria artisans for super job.
In today's interconnected world, complexity is the new normal, and accountants must navigate this landscape, leveraging interdisciplinary approaches to drive sustainable growth. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, USA District, invites you to our 12th ICAN USA International Accountant Conference. Join us for 4 days of inspiring keynotes, interactive sessions, and expert panel sessions. Date is 26th to 31st of August 2025. Theme: Navigating Complexity, Accountants as Catalysts for Interdisciplinary Solutions. Venue is Windham, Indianapolis Airport Hotel, 2544 Executive Drive, Indianapolis, in 46241. Join the conversation. Shape the future.
You're welcome back to ICAN-ngr today, Thursday, the 31st October 2024. We were supposed to have the Accountant General of Lagos State in person of Dr. Biodun Muritala in the studio, but of course, he has delegated to someone that is very, very powerful and efficient on the subject matter, in person of Mr. Tajuddin Mohammed FCA, the Director of Monitoring and Investigation of the State Treasury Office. Thank you again, sir, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so sir, my question for you. Oh yes, we're so happy to have you. So my question again, sir, is the commercial capital of West Africa is Lagos State. What is budget planning and how is public sector budget defense carried out? I know you gave us those process, but how do you defend it? Because I know most times when you go to the Alausa office in Ikeja, they say we're going for budget defense, budget defense. But please just in a nutshell, just let us know what it's about.
So as I have enumerated earlier on, maybe I will just pick out the defense aspect of it. There are three levels of defense. The first is ministerial bilateral discussion or ministerial discussion, which is between the Minister of Economic Planning and Budget. And I told you that agencies have to justify the progress and project and programs they put in their budget proposal, and also they need to justify the costs associated with it. So that's the first one. The second aspect of budget defense, but not really defense, is I'll call it budget scrutiny, because agencies are not invited at that point, but some key commissioners are invited to come and explain further on some of those lines which they have put in their budget, and that is at the point of Treasury Board, which is more or less like a review committee of what Minister of Economic Planning and Budget has done. Then the final stage is the legislative defense. In this case, every agency will appear at a committee which is relevant to their sector. So, for instance, agencies like State Treasury Office, Ministry of Finance, Debt Management Office, and even Economic Planning and Budget itself, we appear before before Finance Committee of the House to come and defend their budget. So, and if it has to relate to public works and infrastructure development, they also have their own committee. So all sectors of the Lagos State economy has a committee that is the oversight, overseeing the affair in the house. So each agency will appear before their own committee. Then the committee will collate the defense at the final figure of all each agencies and take it before the final and the committee of the whole house before the budget is not approved. So that's the process of defense.
That's the process. Thank you so much. So please, if you don't know that process, I hope you listened and I hope you have digested that. Most times we just hear people talk about supplementary budget. People, there are clamors around it. Is it good? Is it bad? So briefly, can you just let us know what the merits are when it comes to supplementary budget and what are the disadvantages of having that supplementary budget? And another question that I want to put together is, what kind of skills do you truly require to be efficient on this budget process that you have given us those details for in the public sector?
So let's talk about budgetary supplementary budget. It's a creation of the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria, and it is meant to augment the main annual budget. So it passes through the same process like the main annual budget. It passes through all those processes, but it is an augment. intervention when there is a shortfall in the budget head, or when there is any emergency that require a budgetary provision. For instance, we all witnessed the COVID section. Nobody expected that COVID is going to happen, but COVID is an emergency that nobody prepared for. So a supplementary budget was prepared, will have to be prepared to mitigate the effect of such thing. So also we will have emergency like flood, although there is a provision for contingencies, but sometimes the provision for contingencies might not even be able to to address the kind of damages or defects of the real emergency. So also there are instances that we have surpluses in some heads and we have shortfall in some heads. So those people who are implementing the budget, they are not allowed to go and use what is prepared for A and use it for B. So it's abuse of budget. It's called misappropriation of fund, and it's a criminal offense. So if you have surplus in one head and you want to transfer it to another head, then you need to approach Minister of Economic Planning, and they in turn go to the House to approve such, because an appropriation is a law on its own, and nobody, if you want to do anything contrary to it, then you still have to go back to the House where that law was made in the first instance. So in essence, the objective of supplementary budget is to take care of foreseen circumstances, or to augment where there is a shortfall in the course of doing budgeting.
And it doesn't have to be yearly, right?
No, it doesn't have to. So if it becomes a yearly affair, then something is wrong with that budget.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So the efficiencies, the skills that you need to have to be efficient in budget process.
So the first thing that you need to actually in public sector, if you want to be efficient in budget preparation, you must have a sound knowledge in public financial management. So that's the first thing. Then you must have a sound knowledge of policy analysis and strategic planning. You know, I said at the commencement of this discussion that budget emanated from government policy statements. It is mostly public policy statement that dictates what government is going to put in their budget. So you must be able to analyze what the government policy, what programs and projects should government embark on to achieve the objective. Also, like I said earlier on, that we must have enhanced legislative process, but also whoever is preparing budget must also have knowledge of legislative process, because budget are laws. Then there are law guiding budgets, there are rules and regulations, there are policies guiding budget preparations, there are manuals and whatever. So whoever is preparing budget must be conversant with all this, so that when you are preparing budget, you will not run foul of any provision. Then another thing most important, which is lacking in many government budget preparation, is financial analysis and forecasting. You see, sometimes the past predicts, and in most times the past predict the futures. So you must be able to analyze your figures, maybe in the last 10 years, to actually say, okay, so what for instance, revenue, you must be able to analyze your revenue for revenue trends in the last 10 years using forecast techniques, and to be able to predict what kind of revenue that you are going to have in future. So anything, all things remain equal. If there are going to be any interference or differences, it will be something that is abnormal. So that's something that doesn't occur normally. So revenue you should have a trend. For instance, payee, for instance, should have a trend. If everything remain constant, the level of taxation remain constant, the the staff that are paying the payee, they are the same, and there is no upsurge in recruitment of new staff and whatever. So you should be able to predict using parameters, the age of staff, the level, the promotions, and whatever, to be able to predict what your payee will be in the next 2 3 years. So it
Yeah,
requires,
a projection. Yeah.
yes, it requires skills, special skills of forecasting and analysis. But this
Yeah.
lacks in many government establishment. Also, when you are doing budgeting and financial planning, you must have a sound budgeting and financial knowledge. So you must be able to know, okay, what kind of budgets are we even preparing? For instance, if you are preparing deficit budgets, so how do you want to make up with the shortfall? So it means you need to now know, okay, your financial strategy will now come to play. So are we going to borrow? And if you are going to
Yeah.
borrow, what kind of borrowing are we doing? Are we doing bank borrowing? Are we selling bonds to the market? Are we going to the money market? And you have to ensure that you are not using short-term fund to finance long-term projects. So this is a long-term project, you have to go to bond. So it will give you a relief to pay over 10 years and whatever. So all these things, all this
Must be
knowledge has to come to fore. There also project management analysis. Project management knowledge. You must be able to do project management. It's not about preparing, budgeting, releasing money for execution of project. What about project management? How are we sure the project is going the way we say we should go? So that is also part of it. What about financial control? So financial control, because you must be able to manage your cash flow, must be able to, revenue and expenditure don't come hand in hand. There are instances that you have a lot of expenditure. That's our experience in Lagos State, and revenue does not match those requests for expenditure. So you have to, how do you want to do it? Do you want to do a short-term bank facilities, or you want to allow those projects to stay until you have revenue and all those things? So those are those things that you must
Yeah. So
to.
much that you have actually said so much. I was looking through some comments from the audience and I see Iwara Agara here saying, can the presenter confirm if zero-based budgeting is being used in Lagos State and what is his experience? So it's not the presenter now, it is our guest. Do you want to confirm if zero-based is being used in Lagos State? I mean, it's
Yes,
either yes or
yes,
it's
that's what we
okay.
are using in Lagos State. Zero-based budget and
Oh,
program-based budget
fantastic.
combined. So
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. And we have a lot of comments from our audience, but for the worth of time, I know some of you still have questions. It's okay. Please share them. But Fagbola Timitokwadini, he says one of the bands of Nigerian budget process is budget padding and budget inefficiencies that always give room for supplementary budget. How can we curb this menace in our yearly budget cycle? I think you've been able to talk about it, right?
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
we've been able to tell us about the demerits and what we need to do better. So thank you very much, Fagbola, for mentioning that. But my question for you, because we're trying to wrap up now, and it's going to be my last question to you. If, for example, the president of the country gives you an opportunity to speak about all these things and how we can enhance it, and how we can partner with Lagos State and yourself for the growth of our members in accountancy profession and the global business environment, so that you let us know what the knowledge gaps are, how to build capacity, and perhaps in 1 minute, sir, if you can help us do that.
So
Thank you,
let
sir.
me start with how can we develop knowledge gap in our membership. So number one, ICAN is doing well through their continuous education program. So they are doing fantastically well. But we must also promote skills. We must encourage our members to specialize in skill. For instance, there was a time in which ICAN was doing a course in forensic accounting. I don't think that is still on now. So we can promote course in like even public sector financial management. Why not? So we can promote course in accounting automation. So it's not because there are so many businesses that are out there. I tell you, if you have the skill of Excel as an accountant, you'll be on top of the world. Personally, I have using Excel, developed a lot of financial application for some businesses and even for public sector service. So we must encourage professionalism and encourage specialization, and then we must encourage globalization. So encourage our members to take courses, or even there are some professional bodies like CIBN. I know they offer some specialized courses in and they give certificate for it. So why not? Then currently we have what we call financial modeling. So accountant can take advantage of it and learn financial modeling. We have analyticals and all those things. Accountant can take care. Those are the fields which there are vacuums which accountant can conveniently fill in. So
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay. Because we're actually running out of time, but maybe I should give you half a minute, 30 seconds to do this.
Okay, which one is that?
No, I don't know what you wanted to say.
So you, okay, I think you said if I happen to have opportunity to meet Mr. President on the, so what do we do? So we said, number one, I've said it earlier on, we changed the budgetary approach. So let us, instead of doing this incremental budget, let's do some scientific things. So we can do some scientific things, and so that our budget will be realistic. It will even reduce the budget padding and this budget supplementary budget of a thing. Then let's employ technology. We employ technology in our budgetary process and even our entire financial management system. So increase transparency and accountability. Then so let us also improve the skill of civil servants. So sometimes most of these errors committed by civil servants are not because they wanted to pad budget, or they wanted to, or intent to commit fraud. No, but because as an accountant, once you commit an error, it's an intent to do fraud. But sometimes it's not. It's lack of skill. So once you have skill, knowledge gap. Yes, the knowledge gap. We must invest on those people that are doing this. Investment means training them, and it has to be continuous training. Not necessarily training going abroad or whatever. It can be training on within our environment. You can invite an expert to come and give them training on what to do and how to do it best. So those are the things. Then apart from that, we must also open the civil servant to information in the sense that we must let them know what is government directive. what is the objective, what is government goal, so that the government and civil servants will work hand in hand to achieve that goal. So thank you very much for giving me this
Thank
opportunity.
you. Thank you very much, sir. I know you have so much embedded in you, but it's okay. For the worth of time, we want to release you so that we don't take too much of your time. So at this junction, we want to say thank you very much, sir, for being here today on Icon on Air.
Thank you
We
very
truly
much.
appreciate it. We
I'm
appreciate the
happy to
knowledge
be
that
with
you have
you.
shared. And we hope that we'll do things together in the future. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Mr.
very much.
Tajuddin Mohammed, FCA.
Thank you.
And do have a good evening, sir.
And you too.
Okay, so I'd like to take a couple of announcements. Icon on Air has resumed airing on Thursdays, effective from last Thursday, the 24th of October. So Icon is live on TikTok. Follow us on at Icon on -ng to get the very exclusive news, study tips, institute events, behind the scenes content, student insights, and much more. The 24th fellowship conferment ceremony, the date is Thursday, December 12, 2024. Aspiring to join the distinguished rank of ICAN Fellows, FCA. This December is your moment. More information will be shared subsequently. The 54th AAC papers are live. If you missed the session, all papers are available on the ICAN website and AAC app, that you can actually go there and get more information on. The 74th induction ceremony, it's taking place from December 3rd to the 4th of 2024. The third ECOWAS Abwa Congress, November 27th to 30th, 2024, at Cote d'Ivoire. The theme is sustainability, integration, and West Africa's prosperity. I just realized that I haven't registered for that. I have to register. Please do register immediately. And we have forensic accounting webinar, like guest mentioned today. The date is November 13th to the 14th, 10 a.m. The amount is 25,000 naira, and the credit point is 15. It is a virtual training, professional diploma in IFRS, disciplinarian, and we have a lot of other trainings coming up within the institute. I also want to say we love you to our deceased council member in person of Queen Mother. We love you. Today was a very solemn day to celebrate you, and we know that God loves you and He has taken you to be with Him. So, Queen Joy, we love you. Thank you very much for sharing all that you have with the Institute. I want to say God will rest your soul. And also all the audience want to say thank you very much for joining the program today. Gospel Our Lives will be here next week with you on Thursday, 6 p.m. Have yourself a lovely evening. My name remains Fumi Olani, ACA. Good evening again.